Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Atomic Museum. Thanks for coming in today, guys. This is a new series for us called Stories from the Atomic Age. We're really happy everybody made it into the museum for this event today, and we're just delighted that Robert Friedrichs is here with us today to present. Before I bring Robert up and introduce him, I'm Matt Malinowski. I'm the Director of Education here at the museum, and I just thank you. And I just want to let you know about a couple other things that we've got on our radar in case you are interested in our other upcoming events as well. On March 2nd, we have our partners from Nevada National Security Sites with us for a STEM Saturday event. So that's designed more towards families and students, but those are free events to come down, get hands-on with some STEM activities. Atomics is another really fun series where we go out into the community somewhere and we do a really unique event. So we have that on March 7th at the really beautiful Beverly Theater. If you haven't been down there downtown yet, I have Academy Award nominated director of documentaries, John Else, with us, talking about his documentary, The Day After Trinity, which is considered kind of like the quintessential Oppenheimer documentary. So with all the buzz around Oppenheimer, having him in town, it will be great. And then Robert will be back with us on March 28th as well to talk about the history of Johnston Atoll. So again, if you like this presentation today, be on the lookout for Robert's next presentation as well. Robert Friedrichs has more than 30 years of experience working in and around nuclear. He serves as a manager for top secret and high-level programs from Johnston Atoll to the Nevada Test Site. And he's about to unravel the mysteries behind the people and circumstances that led to the creation of some of the most compelling and intriguing pictures of the atomic age. Please welcome Robert Friedrichs.
Thank you. Welcome. I'm glad you were able to come in and see this presentation. I've worked this problem for several years. Whoop. Whoop. Yeah, it's on. I'll leave it out. That might help. But I've worked this problem for many years, trying to find out who the individual was that was in this photograph that's become so synonymous with the atomic testing and Las Vegas in the 1950s. When America entered World War II, troops carried pictures such as the famous Betty Grable photo to remind them what they were fighting for. Those pinups were a natural extension of the beauty contests back home, where the soldiers had frequently cheered on their girlfriends or someone that they would like as a girlfriend, hoping that the focus of their attention would be chosen and most beautiful girl in town. When the United States troops occupied Japan, they brought American values and culture with them. In 1946, local U.S. military personnel and the residents of Nagasaki joined together to participate in a Miss Nagasaki contest. 2 photographs of this event were reprinted in a pictorial Japanese history book in the 1980s with the captions of Miss Atomic Bomb. No Miss Atomic Bomb contest was ever held in Japan. Routine testing of atomic weapons was first performed in the Pacific, but required significant lead times and massive logistical support. The obvious solution to these problems would be to create a continental test site. So on December 18, 1950, President Harry S. Truman authorized the establishment of a 680 square mile section at the Nellis Air Force Gunnery and Bombing Range as the Nevada Proving Grounds, a name it kept until 1955, when it became the Nevada Test Site. On January 11th, 1951, President Truman officially approved the Ranger test series of 5 shots in the press releases announcing the impending series. On January 15th, 1951, the Review Journal editorialized that the majority of the Las Vegas had welcomed the AEC project with open arms, contending that the Nevada could contribute much to the Korean War effort by having the atomic project within its boundaries. Beyond appeals to simple patriotism, the local press also pointed out the potential material benefits for the community. Atomic tourists posed a potential side effect as well. The Las Vegas Review-Journal ran a United Press story on the reaction of Alamogordo, New Mexico, to losing out to being the location for the Continental Test Site. Although most citizens couldn't get excited about the outcome, they did warn Las Vegas to be on the lookout for tourists only interested in the atomic bomb. We shall have people driving here and asking the way to the test site, a Chamber of Commerce official said. And they still write in for samples of the glass blown out by the bomb. When the Ranger series actually started in January 27th, 1951, the skies were lit up all the way to Los Angeles and Salt Lake City. Headlines around the world routinely announced the firing of each shot after the fact in the series with a dramatic flair. The 5th and last shot of the Ranger test series was fired on February 6, 1951. The Ranger test series was followed by the Buster Jangle series of shots spanning the period of October 22nd through November 29, 1951. As with the Ranger series, the public's curiosity was raised each time the early morning sky was lit up by one of the detonations, but reportedly once again focused on the shots themselves. The next test series, Tumbler Snapper, ran from April 1 through June 5th, 1952. This time, the entire nation witnessed the atomic blast in the comfort of their homes. On April 22nd, 1952, the American media was permitted to view and provide live television coverage of the big shot detonated to the American public. The local press began taking advantage of the public's growing interest in atomic testing, and on May 9th, 1952, a Las Vegas publicity photo was first appeared in the Dixon, Illinois Evening Telegraph and the Statesville, North Carolina Daily Record announcing Miss Atomic Blast. The photo continued to appear in other papers for several weeks thereafter, and that's who you see there. The caption read, "Radiating loveliness instead of deadly atomic particles. Candace King, actress appearing at the Last Frontier Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada, dazzled U.S. Marines who participated in recent atomic maneuvers at Yucca Flats. They bestowed upon her title Miss Atomic Blast, finding her an awe-inspiring in another way, as was the Big Bang. Candace King was, in reality, a dancer extraordinary and one half of the dance team Candace and King, an act that routinely worked in Reno and Las Vegas during the late 1940s and 1950s. During the time the Upshot Knothole series of tests were detonated from March 17 through June 4th, 1953, the city of North Las Vegas held its annual beauty contest. 17-year-old Paula Harris was selected to be Miss North Las Vegas that year, and as their queen rode on the North Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce float for the 1953 Eldorado Parade. That year, the parade theme was to be motion picture titles, and the North Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce picked The Atomic City, a popular spy movie set in and around Los Alamos, New Mexico. The sign on the side of the float proclaimed Miss North Las Vegas as new and modern as the A-bomb, and Paula was nicknamed Miss A-bomb. Her float was not the only float in the parade with an atomic theme. Others had selected the movie titled The High and the Mighty. No mention was ever made of that young lady. Atomic mania was sweeping the nation, and other communities began holding their own contests using various titles, but with a twist. Greenfield, Massachusetts crowned their Miss Atom Bomb, a 4-year-old Patsy Neidler, in September 1953. Penny Adams rode the first place winning float in the 20th annual Dixie Roundup Junior Parade in St. George, Utah on September 1954. The name of that float was Our Little A-Bomb, and her dress was the top portion of a mushroom cloud. The next series, Operation Teapot, ran from February 18th through May 15th, 1955. One of the shots in this series was used to continue an elaborate program begun in 1953 to evaluate the potential impact of a nuclear attack on civilian communities. The Joint Atomic Energy Commission Federal Civil Defense Administration program, known as Operation Q, measured how well houses, household items, food, shelters, metal buildings, equipment, and mannequins wearing everyday clothing would survive at various distances from a nuclear blast. The test Apple II was originally scheduled to take place in late April, but kept being rescheduled because of high winds. After several delays, the personnel began calling the test Operation Miscue. Each time there was a shift in the schedule, the civil defense and military personnel were bussed to Las Vegas so that they could take advantage of what the city had to offer. On May 1st, 1955, the Sands Hotel released a photo purportedly of Copa girl Linda Lawson being crowned Miss Q by 6 U.S. Army personnel from Camp Desert Rock to illustrate another misfiring of the Operation Q bomb. Her crown was, of course, a mushroom cloud. Miss Lawson has indicated that she is not the individual in the photo and does not know who the individual is. This slide shows a comparison of the individual in the photo along with the photos of Miss Lawson. Other photos were taken during this shot, and Linda Lawson was considered but not selected for the press release. Miss Lawson went on to become a recording artist on Chancellor label, appeared in movies and on television, and eventually left the business to raise her family. At the time of researching the DOE Nevada Test Site Office Public Affairs fact sheet, she was living in Southern California. Apple II detonated finally on May 5th, 1955. The next test series Operation Plum Bob ran from May 28th through October 7th, 1957. On May 24th, 1957, a staff photographer for the Las Vegas News Bureau and the last and arguably most famous Miss Atomic Bomb photo of all. The photograph, taken by Don English, is of a Copa girl from the Sands Hotel wearing a cotton mushroom cloud that had been added to the front of her swimsuit for the photo session. She had been selected at random from the publicity photo, and the photographer then when interviewed, no longer remembered her name. He did, however, provide some other photos from that photo shoot. This slide shows three other photos shot that day by several other are on file at the Las Vegas Convention Center offices. An initial press release was sent out using a different photo and it received little coverage. Then the outstretched arm version was released and it took off. Interviews with two of her co-workers at the Sands Hotel, they both identified her as Lee A. Merlin. Unlike several other Copa showgirls, she had not been given a stage name when hired. Lee worked as a Copa girl from the late 1954 to late 1957 time period, in which all of the Copa girls were replaced with girls from Texas. Her co-workers indicated that she was a private person and did not hang around with her co-workers. They also shared that she read a great deal, never talked about her family or background, and had no noticeable accent. They also stated that Lee had prior training in ballet because she was the only member of the troupe that could go on toe and performed as lead in skits that required ballerina. Once we had a name, extensive efforts were initiated in hopes of locating her for the grand opening of the Atomic Testing Museum. I was interviewed by the Los Angeles Times, and an article was published in other Time newspapers across the United States. The BBC interviewed me on 2 separate occasions, and Abacus Research and Investigations volunteered to help in the search for her. We have located documents related to her working in Southern California before coming to Las Vegas, to include participating in a proclamation signing event in Long Beach, being a participant on a living billboard in the Sunset Strip, dancing in the San Bernardino Civic Light Opera performances of Carousel, and her voter registration in Los Angeles City Precinct number 3653 in 1954. No documentation was located related to where she had come from or went beyond that information. We've looked in various marriage, divorce, death certificates, and have never found her. We continue to check various sources in a routine basis, hoping to pick up her story. The last atmospheric test series in the Nevada test site was Operation Hardtack 2, which ran from September 12th through October 30th, 1958. Although United States detonated 37 nuclear devices in a 41-day period. Nuclear testing was no longer thought of as a great tourist attraction that it had once been. Testing had become routine and was soon to go completely underground. The general public had moved on to new and different interests, such as the space race. Then on October 31st, 1958, the United States entered into a unilateral testing moratorium announced by President Eisenhower with the understanding that the former Soviet Union would also refrain from testing. Although the former Soviet Union initially complied with the treaty, they resumed testing in September 1961 with a series of the largest number of tests ever conducted. More recently, the atomic bomb photo of 1957 has proven to be a lightning rod for debate. It has appeared on the television series Crime Story, Look at the Back Wall of the Bar, and later shows set in Las Vegas. Included in multiple books, magazines, articles, and was selected to be best photo of all time by the Las Vegas Life magazine in December 2000. In addition, it has been entered in into the collections of the Smithsonian Museum and selected to be the cornerstone of advertising for the Atomic Testing Museum in Las Vegas. My favorite photo of Miss Atomic Bomb is of her cutout and Don English standing together in the lobby here, Don holding the very camera that he used in the original photo. On May 12th, 2019, Las Vegas Weekly printed a cover that was a take on of the 1957 photo of Miss Atomic Bomb for their centennial issue. The pose was not the original one, but another that had been used for the original news release. This time the photographer was Benjamin Purvis and the model was Candace Curtis. While the photo is recognized around the world, the 1957 one, around the world as a reflection of Las Vegas in the 1950s, it has routinely received negative reactions from feminists and others as demeaning to women. When put into perspective, it serves as a reflection of a simpler time, but it continues to provide publicity for Las Vegas as it was originally intended. In summary, good luck, Don. Good work. Are there any questions? Are you going to help me find her? For those of you that have not gone through the museum, I encourage you to. It's quite an effort that went into putting this together, this facility. It's shared with the Desert Research Institute. A lot of their work was and still is related to the test site. And so that's why they're in here also. But I'm proud to say I was involved in the original efforts to build this building. And we're all proud of it. So please enjoy it. Okay?
Again, thanks to Robert Friedrichs for his presentation. Thanks for everyone for attending, and hope you had a great time with the presentation. Interesting, right? How atomic pop culture just kind of stemmed from that here in Vegas. Thanks.
We had something like this on one of my projects. It was called the USSMZ. It was a thing that looked like a submarine, a special test we put on a DOD test. I was with the Los Alamos part, it was the Los Alamos experiment. And we built a special chamber that looked kind of like a nuclear submarine. It's quite large. It was about 12 feet in diameter. And it stuck out of an alcove in one of the tunnels. And it looked like the front of a submarine. It sort of picked up that name called the submarine when they were working on the project. And one day, we had a bunch of reporters come here and some other dignitaries. And we had a Navy yeoman, I guess you call him, that would take the tourists through. And when he come to this particular test, just by what he'd always said when he'd take tourists, this is the Los Alamos USSMZ submarine. Well, there happened to be a couple reporters from the USSR with that group. And within a day or so at Pravda, there was an announcement that the United States was nuking a submarine underground at the test site. And so one thing led to another. And of course, if you know anything about the Department of Defense test, we always had military people involved with them. In this case, the guy that was the military test director was Navy. And we had several other Navy personnel. And so, playing on this thing, it kept growing and growing. They asked me, they said, well, we would like to have some pictures of the submarine with a flag saying, good luck USSMZ, and maybe flag talk, you know? Well, I thought that was kind of neat, so it's okay. Of course, I had to go back to my test director and make sure all this was okay. And so, lo and behold, they built a little conning tower and put on top of this test, which made it look more like a submarine with big letters on USSMZ. And so, naturally then, the next thing would be what has to be christened, right? So we looked around at this site, and we had a secretary in area 3 that had a formal gown, and she would be willing to christen the submarine with non-alcoholic champagne. And so, anyway, the guys, the Navy guys, and then of course we had Air Force and Army and Marines also involved. They built a little platform next to the front where this submarine stuck out of an alcove. And you can see the tower kind of above it, you know, the whole thing, enough of it. And they put a red carpet from the train tracks that came in over to the platform. And so, anyway, I'm surprised we got through with all this on the government. It kept building. But of course, a lot of the government officials thought it was kind of cute too. So anyway, we got her all fixed up. She was on the train, and they decorated the car to take her underground, made a big to-do over it, brought her in as royalty, took her up to the platform with the red carpet from the train to the submarine. She stands on the platform, and finally, like with usual situation, you never break the bottle in the first hit, you know. She beat it enough, and we christened it the USSMZ submarine that we did. That was actually a test. It was a special test. We kind of worked with a business. We was hoping to get some Nobel recognition on it. It was really interesting. But anyway, I had a whole bunch of photographs of it of her, and of course, the Navy personnel and everybody had to have a picture taken with her, you know, on the platform to make it look all that neat. This sort of reminds me of that, you It was kind of fun and interesting. You might be interested in looking at those pictures. I give them copies at the museum here.
I bet. Was that in T Tunnel? Was that in T Tunnel?
No, I think it was, no, G had pretty well been cut down. That's another story on G tunnel, but, this one was, T tunnel.
Yeah.
T, not G. It was before he started using P. You know, so it was the old wet tunnel, T tunnel. That had all the drainage, it was always getting hyper-fracked and every time they set off a bomb, you know. But, it was, you might be interested in looking at those. It was probably about 10 photographs.
I worked in T Tunnel on loan to Sandia.
You what?
I worked in T Tunnel on loan to Sandia.
You
On
did?
one of the shots. So,
Well, you remember how wet that dude was.
so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, they should have them in